deep under 3 miles of Antarctic ice. Ground-penetrating radar recently revealed unnatural, rectilinear formations covering an area larger than modern-day Paris, with core samples dating organic material found nearby to over 50,000 years old. Ancient Sumerian clay tablets, long thought to be purely mythological, describe shining cities of the first ancestors that existed before the Great Flood, complete with detailed star charts that include constellations not visible from Mesopotamia, but prominent in the southern hemisphere during the last glacial maximum. Off the coast of the Bimini Islands, divers have photographed what appear to be cyclopean stone roads and building foundations submerged under 20 feet of water, their erosion pattern suggesting an age far exceeding any known historical culture in the region. And perhaps most startlingly, geneticists analyzing deep human ancestry have identified anomalous gene sequences that suggest a highly sophisticated, globally interconnected population existed well before the end of the last ice age, a population whose knowledge and structures were almost entirely erased. These aren't just isolated mysteries. They are whispers of a world that came before ours. Number 8. The sunken jewel of Aethelgard. Imagine a kingdom whose heart pulsed with the rhythm of the ocean, a place where towering citadels of bioluminescent coral and obsidian once pierced the waves. This was Aethelgard, believed to have flourished on a vast continental shelf in what is now the turbulent North Atlantic, a landmass swallowed by rising seas as the glaciers of the last ice age retreated. The few tantalizing clues to Aethelgard's existence come from deep-sea sonar scans conducted by oceanographic survey ships, initially dismissed as unusual geological formations. These scans depict vast symmetrical patterns on the seabed miles long, resembling the layout of ancient cities, complete with what appear to be harbor complexes and massive sea walls, now encrusted with millennia of marine growth. Their intricate geometry suggests deliberate design far beyond the capabilities of known early maritime cultures. What makes Aethelgard truly fascinating are the legends passed down by the most ancient seafaring cultures of Western Europe and North Africa. These tales, often discounted as sailors' yarns, speak of ancestors from the drowned lands, who possessed an unparalleled mastery of the sea. They allegedly navigated by the stars and subtle magnetic currents of the Earth with an accuracy that modern science is only now beginning to replicate with satellite technology. Their ships, described in fragmented oral traditions as silent gliders or wave piercers, were supposedly constructed from materials that could mend themselves and move with incredible speed and stability, even in the fiercest storms. Some accounts hint at a symbiotic relationship with cetaceans, using complex sonic patterns to communicate across vast oceanic distances, a form of biological telegraphy. Power of Aethelgard wasn't just in its seafaring prowess. It was in its profound understanding of marine ecosystems. They are said to have practiced a form of aquaculture that sustained vast populations without depleting ocean resources, cultivating giant kelp forests, and farming unique species of luminescent fish that lit their underwater pathways and settlements. Their cities were not merely built near the sea, but with the sea, incorporating tidal flows for energy through sophisticated hydraulic systems and using the ocean's thermal gradients for climate control within their structures built from pressure-resistant, bioconcrete-like substances. The loss of Aethelgard was not a sudden catastrophe, according to these faint echoes, but a slow, inexorable surrender to the rising waters, a poignant retreat of a people who saw their world vanishing beneath the waves. They supposedly recorded their knowledge on indestructible crystalline plates before their land was fully submerged, hoping future generations might rediscover their wisdom. Marine archaeologists are now pushing for expeditions to these deep-sea sites, hoping to find definitive proof of this remarkable thalassocracy, and perhaps even locate their legendary archives. Number 7. Veridia, the emerald heart of the primal forest. Deep within the still largely unexplored expanses of the Amazon and Congo basins, whispers endure of Veridia, a kingdom that didn't just live in the rainforest, but was an extension of. Unlike civilizations that clear forests to build, the Veridians are said to have grown their cities. Their architecture, if one can call it that, was a fusion of advanced botanical knowledge and a unique understanding of bioenergetic fields. Oral traditions from isolated indigenous tribes who claim descent from the tree shapers speak of immense living structures, homes, temples, and even transportation networks coaxed from fast-growing, incredibly resilient species of trees and fungi, their forms guided and strengthened over generations using resonant frequencies and light manipulations. These weren't primitive huts. They were complex, multi-level dwellings, interwoven with bioluminescent flora that illuminated the forest nights and intricate networks of canopy walkways made from living vines stronger than any synthetic rope, connecting vast arboreal communities. The true power of Veridia, however, lay in its mastery of life sciences. They were purported to be unparalleled healers, understanding the medicinal properties of thousands of plants, many now extinct or unknown. Said they could accelerate healing, regenerate tissues, and even influence genetic expression through sophisticated herbal concoctions, light therapies, and resonant sound frequencies attuned to biological process. Their agriculture was not about rows of crops, but about creating hyper-efficient, self-sustaining ecosystems, miniature food forests that produced abundance with minimal intervention, working in perfect harmony with the surrounding jungle. They practiced what modern science might term symbiotic agriculture, where companion planting and natural pest deterrents were understood at a molecular level. Some of the most intriguing, though unverified, reports come from early 20th century explorers who described stumbling upon strangely symmetrical clearings deep in the jungle with unnaturally large trees bearing edible fruits of unknown species, or hearing complex, melodic sounds emanating from areas with no discernible human or emanating fruits, which some tribes claim were the songs of the growing cities. The Veridians were also believed to have a deep connection with the animal kingdom, not as masters, but as partners. There are tales of them communicating with various species through subtle empathic and sonic means, even influencing local weather patterns by understanding the subtle ecological triggers within their vast forest domain. The decline of Veridia is shrouded in mystery. Some legends suggest a slow assimilation back into the forest. As their population dwindled, their living cities gradually becoming indistinguishable from the wilderness. Their advanced biological knowledge encode into the very DNA of certain sacred groves. Others hint at a deliberate withdrawal, a choice to protect their sacred knowledge from a changing world that was becoming increasingly discordant. Today, botanists and ethnographers occasionally encounter plant species with inexplicably complex genetic markers or hear tribal elders speak of the green forgotten ones, fueling the tantalizing possibility that remnants of Veridia's profound biological wisdom still lie hidden beneath the emerald canopy, waiting for a more harmonious age to re-emerge. Number 6. The Crystal Chanters of Lyra'Soans. Lyra'Soans is a name that surfaces in the most fragmented and esoteric of ancient Pacific Islander chants and petroglyphs, referring to a kingdom that supposedly existed on a now vanished archipelago of volcanic islands somewhere in the vastness of the Pacific Ocean, possibly connected to the mythical continent of Lemuria. Their legacy is not one of stone or metal, but of light and sound, for the Lyra'Soans were said to be masters of crystal technology and vibrational resonance. Mythologists point to the unusually high concentration of flawless quartz and other piezoelectric crystalline formations in certain deep-sea volcanic regions, like the Line Islands or areas near Polynesia, as potential sites for this lost kingdom. The core of their advanced understanding revolved around the belief that specific frequencies could interact with crystalline structures to produce, store, and transmit energy as well as information on a scale that would rival modern power grids. Their cities, described in the oldest Polynesian oral histories as islands of singing light, were purportedly built around massive, precisely cut crystal monoliths that hummed with a palpable energy, resonating with the Earth's natural frequencies and the celestial cycles. These crystals were not mere decorations or passive tools. They were the active engines of Lyra'Soans society. It is said they could harness solar, geothermal, and even ambient cosmic energies, amplify them through these crystalline arrays, and broadcast power wirelessly across their islands, lighting their homes and energizing their devices. And even for advanced healing modalities that could repair cellular damage and rebalance energy fields within the body. The most fantastical tales speak of light weavers who could manipulate ambient light through handheld crystal devices to create solid-seeming holograms for communication and education, or focused beams of intense energy for tunneling and defense. Communication across their scattered islands, and perhaps even further, was allegedly achieved through a network of singing stones, crystal transmitters that could send complex information via modulated light and subsonic vibration. There are even obscure references in certain Australian Aboriginal Dreamtime stories and South American indigenous legends to visitors from the Shining Islands who arrived on canoes that flew without sails or sound, bearing gifts of glowing stones that held knowledge. The demise of Lyra'Soa is often linked to the very volcanic forces that birthed their islands. Legends speak of a great dissonance, a catastrophic event where their main crystal arrays became unstable, possibly triggered by a massive undersea eruption or a sudden tectonic shift. This instability might have caused a chain reaction, amplifying destructive terrestrial frequencies that shattered their islands and plunged them beneath the waves. Exploratory deep-sea submersible missions have occasionally reported strange, regular geometric formations and anomalous energy readings in areas consistent with these legends. But the depths make investigation incredibly challenging. The legacy of Lyra'Soa is a haunting reminder of a civilization that might have literally sung its way into existence, harnessing the music of the spheres only to be silenced by the raw, untamed power of the earth. Number 5. Terra Custos and the Symphony of the Mountains. Nestled high in a colossal, now eroded mountain range that some geologists theorize once dwarfed even the modern Himalayas, perhaps, in a region of ancient Gondwana land that has since undergone dramatic geological subsidence, lay the kingdom of Terra Custos. The people of Terra Custos were not miners of ore or tillers of soil in the conventional sense. They were masters of geology and acoustics on a scale that strains belief, effectively listening to the planet. Ancient Tibetan Bon texts, Andean Kipu interpretations, and even obscure European alchemical manuscripts, when cross-referenced, speak of a sky people or stone listeners who lived in cities carved inside mountains. These were not just simple caves, but vast, resonant chambers and networks of tunnels shaped to amplify and manipulate sound, transforming entire mountain ranges into colossal acoustic instruments. Their primary technology was based on the subtle and powerful effects of vibration, what we might now call sonic engineering or cymatics, but applied to planetary scale energies. It's said they could perceive the Earth's inner resonances, the deep hum of tectonic plates, the telluric currents, and the subtle frequencies generated by planetary alignments, using this knowledge to power their civilization. Terra Custans allegedly used precisely tuned sonic emitters, perhaps massive geologically integrated structures like artificial crystal formations grown within rock strata, to achieve incredible feats. There are accounts of them liquefying stone temporarily for construction, shaping it like clay before resolidifying it, allowing them to carve immense tunnels in subterranean halls with perfect acoustics and impossible precision. They reportedly used focused sound waves to discover and extract rare minerals without conventional mining, bringing them to the surface through vibrational means. Their understanding of resonance extended to agriculture, They reportedly used specific sonic frequencies to stimulate plant growth in high-altitude terraced gardens within geothermally warmed caverns, coaxing abundance from the harsh mountain environment. Perhaps most intriguingly, they are believed to have used sound for healing and consciousness alteration. Their harmony temples, vast cavernous spaces with unique acoustic properties that naturally focused earth energies, were places where individuals could experience profound states of awareness and physical rejuvenation through intricate soundscapes generated by the mountains. Evidence for terracoustas is exceptionally scarce, given the geological instability of their supposed homeland and the vast timescale. However, seismologists have occasionally detected anomalous rhythmic underground vibrations in remote uninhabited mountain regions that defy natural explanation. Furthermore, certain megalithic sites in high-altitude areas like Pumapunku, with its impossibly precise H-blocks, or Sacsayhuman with its polygonal masonry, have led some unconventional researchers to speculate of shaping and moving colossal stones. Terracoustans' knowledge was deeply tied to the mountains themselves, and it's believed that a series of cataclysmic earthquakes and volcanic eruptions, perhaps even ones they inadvertently triggered or failed to predict due to a shift in planetary resonances, led to the collapse of their mountain strongholds, burying their secrets deep within the Earth's crust. Their tale is a powerful allegory of a civilization that sought harmony with the planet's deepest energies, ultimately succumbing to its immense, untamable power, leaving only whispers in the stone. Number 4. Solara, the Desert Bloom Kingdom. Before the Sahara became the vast expanse of sand we know today, vast swaths of North Africa were verdant and crisscrossed by mighty rivers, a period geologists call the African Humid Period, which peaked thousands of years before recorded history. It was in this paleo-environment, stretching from modern-day Mauritania to Egypt, that the kingdom of Solara is theorized to have thrived. Solara, as its name suggests, was a civilization that drew its primary power and inspiration from the sun, but not just for warmth or agriculture in the simple sense. While many ancient cultures worship solar deities, the Solarans are believed to have possessed a sophisticated practical understanding of solar energy capture, conversion, and utilization that far surpassed simple reverence, potentially rivaling modern concepts. Archaeologists, studying satellite imagery, particularly using subsurface radar, have identified faint, extensive grid-like patterns buried beneath the dunes in certain uninhabited regions of the Sahara. Patterns that do not conform to known geological formations or later more primitive settlement. These are hypothesized to be the remnants of vast energy collection arrays and sophisticated irrigation distribution networks. The Solarans are said to have developed materials capable of converting sunlight into usable energy with astonishing efficiency. Think not of cumbersome modern solar panels, but of thin, flexible photovoltaic films integrated into their architecture, clothing, and even the very fabric of their irrigated fields, possibly made from organic or crystalline compounds. Ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs from the earliest dynasties contained obscure references to a land of eternal light to the west, whose people commanded the sun's fire and made the deserts bloom with gardens of jewels, the jewels perhaps being the glistening energy collectors. This wasn't just about power generation. It was about life creation in an increasingly arid land. Solara's engineers were masters of hydrology, creating colossal networks of underground aqueducts, fed by then abundant rivers like the Paleo-Tamanrasset River and artesian wells, to irrigate vast territories. They supposedly used solar-powered desalination plants along ancient coastlines, now far inland due to desert expansion, to turn salt water, fresh piping it hundreds of miles. Their cities described in Frabanit, Berber, and Tuareg, oral traditions as oases of glass and green, were climate-controlled environments using passive solar design and active thermal regulation systems powered by their solar networks to maintain comfortable temperatures despite the growing aridity of the surrounding lands. Their agriculture was a marvel, utilizing advanced hydroponics and aeroponics in vast enclosed biospheres, alongside advanced soil enrichment techniques, to grow diverse crops in what would otherwise be challenging terrain. They understood the delicate balance of desert ecosystems, and are even said to have embarked on large-scale afforestation projects, using hardy engineered plants to combat the encroaching desertification, a battle they ultimately lost as the planet's climate cycles shifted. The end of Solara was not a sudden event, but a slow, arduous decline as the climate shifted dramatically at the end of the African humid period. Rainfall patterns changed, rivers dwindled, and the Sahara inexorably expanded. Their advanced technology could only hold back the desert for so long. As water sources dried up and their sophisticated systems began to fail under the relentless march of sand, the population dispersed. Their knowledge gradually lost or diluted into simpler mythologies, leaving behind only the faintest traces under the endless sands, a testament to a brilliant culture that once made the desert flourish. Number 3. Hyperia of the Southern Lights. Long before Antarctica was the frozen continent we know today, geological evidence, including fossilized forests and animal remains, suggests parts of it, particularly West Antarctica, were temperate, possibly even subtropical, teeming with unique glacial periods far more ancient than the last one. It is in this lost green Antarctica that the enigmatic kingdom of Hyperia is said to have existed, a civilization whose advancements were as unique as its polar environment. The name Hyperia itself is a modern construct, derived from ancient Greek myths of Hyperborea, a land of eternal spring in the north, but applied by theorists to this hypothetical Antarctic civilization, due to its extreme southern location and purported advanced state. Primary evidence for Hyperia is circumstantial, but compelling. Anomalous magnetic readings under the ice sheet, suggesting metallic structures or unusual geological disturbances that aren't naturally occurring. Furthermore, the Piri-Reis map, a 16th century enigma, depicts the Antarctic coastline without its ice cap with surprising accuracy. For certain sections, leading some to speculate it was copied from far older source maps, originating from a seafaring culture with advanced global cartographic knowledge, perhaps Hyperion. The Hyperions are theorized to have developed technologies based on Earth's electromagnetic fields and the unique atmospheric phenomena of the polar regions, such as the aurora australis. Imagine a society that understood and could manipulate telluric currents, the natural electric currents flowing within the Earth's crust, for power and communication across vast distances. Legends from Tierra del Fuego at the tip of South America and Maori folklore from New Zealand, cultures geographically closest to Antarctica, contain vague allusions to ice fire people or sky glow ancestors from the far south who possessed extraordinary abilities and knowledge of the stars. Hyperion architecture might have utilized materials with unusual conductive or insulating properties, perhaps silicon-based or crystalline, allowing them to thrive even as their continent began its slow descent into freezing temperatures. Some speculative theories suggest they developed a form of atmospheric lensing or energy field generation that could have created localized temperate zones like giant biomes, or even influenced the behavior of the southern lights for communication or energy harnessing, tapping into the ionosphere. Their understanding of biology might have focused on adapting life to extreme cold, perhaps even bioengineering species for survival in the encroaching ice, or developing advanced hibernation technologies for themselves. The loss of Hyperia would have been a gradual chilling apocalypse spanning millennia. As the continent cooled and the ice sheets advanced, their civilization would have been slowly squeezed into smaller and smaller habitable zones, possibly retreating to geothermally active areas or even into subterranean refuges. Eventually, they would have been forced to attempt migration, abandon their home, or perish. Any remnants of their cities or technology now lie buried under miles of ice, an almost insurmountable barrier to discovery with current technology. Yet, the tantalizing possibility remains that beneath the frozen wasteland lies the record of a brilliant, cold-adapted civilization waiting for a thaw or a technological breakthrough that could reveal its secrets. The study of subglacial lakes like Lake Vostok and the extremophiles found within sometimes yields genetic quirks that hint at a far more complex biological past for the continent, subtly fueling the Hyperion hypothesis of a long-lost world. Number 2. Miranda, the dream weavers of the sunken continent. In the vast expanse of the Pacific, or perhaps the Indian Ocean, legends persist across countless cultures of a great motherland, a sprawling continent or archipelago that was home to a profoundly wise and spiritually advanced civilization. This land is often called Mu, or Lemuria. But for this exploration, we'll refer to one of its most prominent theorized kingdoms, Miranda. Miranda wasn't just a place of advanced material technology, though it's said they possessed it in forms we might not recognize. Its true power lay in an unparalleled understanding of consciousness, subtle energies, the interconnectedness of all life, and the very fabric of reality. Oral traditions from various indigenous cultures across the Pacific Rim, from the Polynesians of Easter Island and Hawaii to the Aboriginal peoples of Australia, from the Dravidians of southern India to the native peoples of the Americas, share common thematic threads. These threads speak of ancestors arriving by sea from a sunken land, or a vanished paradise after a great deluge or series of fire cataclysms, bringing with them foundational knowledge of healing, astronomy, agriculture, and sophisticated spiritual practices. These accounts often describe the Mirandans as beings of great serenity, wisdom, and longevity, capable of telepathic communication, psychokinesis, and possessing an intuitive grasp of the universe's underlying harmonic principles. The cities of Miranda were supposedly built not just with physical materials, but with harmonized frequencies and living light, their forms often described as flowing, organic, and crystalline. Structures were said to be grown or precipitated from ethereal energies, imbued with specific resonant properties that promoted health, creativity, and spiritual awareness, rather than being constructed through brute force. They didn't rely on external, mechanistic technologies, as much as on the cultivated power of the human mind and its ability to interact directly with the quantum field. Their science was one of vibration, where sound, light, and thought were understood as different octaves of the same universal energy, manipulated through focused intent and resonant devices. They are credited with creating intricate geodetic networks of temples, pyramids, and sacred sites across their continent and its outposts, aligned with celestial bodies and terrestrial energy lines, lines, to maintain the planet's energetic balance, enhance collective consciousness, and facilitate global communication. Some researchers point to submerged megalithic structures found near places like Yonaguni-jima in Japan, various sites in the Sunda Shelf region, or in the Gulf of Kambat in India as potential outposts or remnants of such a widespread, interconnected culture that understood how to build in harmony with oceanic environments. The Mirandans were said to be master healers, using focused intention, crystal arrays tuned to specific frequencies, sonic therapies, and an advanced understanding of botanical energies to cure ailments of body, mind, and spirit. Their societal structure was supposedly non-hierarchical, based on wisdom, compassion, and service rather than power and control, with councils of elders guiding their communities. The downfall of Miranda is almost universally attributed to a massive geological catastrophe or a series of such events, perhaps a pole shift, a chain of supervolcanic eruptions causing their landmass to founder, or an asteroid impact during their global tsunamis that caused their continent to sink beneath the waves in a relatively short period. Survivors scattered across the globe in ark-like vessels are said to have seeded the foundational myths, spiritual teachings, and esoteric knowledge that would later blossom in civilizations like ancient Egypt, Sumer, the Indus Valley, and Mesoamerica. The search for Miranda is a search for the very roots of human spiritual understanding, a tantalizing glimpse into a past where humanity lived in greater harmony with itself, the planet, and the cosmos. Number 1. The Thulian hegemony of the crystal core. Deep within the Arctic Circle, perhaps centered on a landmass now submerged beneath the Arctic Ocean, or located on parts of Greenland or Svalbard that were ice-free and temperate during earlier epochs, existed what some ancient Northern European sagas, deeply esoteric texts, and fragment folklores refer to as the Thulian hegemony. This wasn't just a kingdom. It was a confederation of city-states, a polar empire unified by a profound and terrifyingly advanced understanding of geothermal energy, earth sciences, chronometry, and potentially even the manipulation of planetary magnetic fields and gravitational forces. Thule, often mythologized as a paradisiacal northern land of eternal daylight or twilight, is described in these fragmented sources as a place of eternal spring amidst the ice, warmed by fires from within the earth, and illuminated by an inner sun. This hints at a mastery of geothermal tapping on an unprecedented scale, creating vast, temperate microclimates and powering their sophisticated subterranean and, in some areas, surface cities. The Thulians were not merely surviving in the harsh polar environment. They were thriving, building vast, geothermally lit and heated underground complexes that were shielded from the brutal surface conditions of the pre-Ice Age polar regions or any sudden climatic shift. Their architecture involved materials that could withstand immense pressures and temperature differentials, possibly advanced ceramics or metallic glasses. Their understanding of geology and geophysics was supposedly so advanced that they could predict and perhaps even influence volcanic activity and tectonic movements to a certain degree. Some texts allude to earth-tuning devices or harmonic resonators, massive installations deep within the crust that could stabilize regions or, if misused or overloaded, trigger cataclysms. True core of Thulian power, however, may have resided in their understanding of what they called the virile energy, or the crystal core, heart of the world, not literally the Earth's physical core, but a conceptual and perhaps actual energetic field, telluric currents and life-sustaining energies. They are said to have built their capital, often referred to as Ultima Thule, directly over a site of immense telluric power, possibly a major magnetic anomaly, a unique geological confluence, or an impact crater from a metallic asteroid that altered local geophysics. Here they allegedly constructed a colossal energy conductor or resonator, possibly involving exotic matter or highly advanced crystal technology that drew upon these planetary energies, providing virtually limitless clean power. This energy was used for everything, maintaining their artificial environments, powering advanced transportation systems, perhaps silent, magnetically levitating craft capable of atmospheric and possibly even limited space travel, advanced manufacturing processes, even limited space travel, advanced manufacturing processes, and even for consciousness necessities, and aided life pans and facilitated direct mind-to-mind commute. The evidence for Thule is almost entirely textual, mythological. Norse Eddas, Irish myths of Tir na Nog, Greek legends of Hyperborea, and folkloric, but it is persistent across many northern cultures, often describing a highly advanced, fair-haired race originating from a northern paradise. Controversial Ora Lindebuch, though widely considered a 19th century hoax, describes a technologically advanced Frisian civilization with ancient northern origins that sounds eerily Thulian in its capabilities. Furthermore, unexplained magnetic anomalies, unusual heat signatures detected by satellites in remote Arctic regions, and strange acoustic phenomena reported by submarines operating under the ice cap continue to fuel speculation. The decline of the Thulian hegemony is often linked to a polar shift, a cataclysmic misuse or catastrophic failure of their own core technology, leading to widespread geological instability, or perhaps an external cosmic event that disrupted the Earth's magnetic field. This resulted in the rapid onset of glaciation that eventually entombed their world in ice or caused their primary landmass to sink. Their story serves as the ultimate cautionary tale, a civilization that tapped into the very lifeblood of the planet, wielding powers we can barely imagine, only to be potentially consumed by forces they could no longer control, leaving behind only the faintest echoes of their once supreme power frozen at the top of the world.